Good evening. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
And welcome to The Source. What a wonderful week. Things have been going smoothly in various areas of the week. We got a lot of things passed in the Senate, so a lot of good things happening. But as we always start our show, we want to know, is there any shootings and things like that in the city, or what's happening in the city right now?
Yeah, so, last Sunday, unfortunately, a 19-year-old was killed around 9:45 p.m. on North Monroe Street. This is the second shooting in the area, following a 20-year-old who was gunned down. She was gunned down the week before. And this is all happening in the 9th Ward right now. I don't know what's going on over there, but it is extremely sad to see two young lives cut short.
Now, whose district is that?
That is the 2nd district, but 1st representative district.
Oh, okay.
2nd councilmatic district, 1st representative district, and 2nd senatorial district.
Now, who is the representative from the city? What the second
Council person?
Yes.
Is Shanae Darby.
And who is the district, the state person they represent?
Nnamdi Chukwuka.
And so it's interesting that they both are running against each other. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But so is there any word from the police department or from the mayor's office regarding this fatal shooting?
There has been no additional information left, and people are speaking out publicly about the lack of communication that's coming from the police department. It seems as though the council members who have spoken out against some of the wrongs that the police department is doing, some of their mistakes and everything, are being iced out of the process of knowing how to get to the root cause of some of the violence in their communities. We're seeing this in the areas of the city that are predominantly black, and where they feel as though their police chief hasn't put enough resources, and then when they took that vote of no confidence in him, it seems like things have just gotten worse.
Oh, wow.
Where no one should have that much power to decide because they are upset of what happened on council. They're going to pull even more resources from that area.
Well, yeah, I really wonder who was the police officer or the captain who's assigned to the area, because we have over here Captain Counts, and he checks in every so often with myself and those who are part of the leadership in Southbridge. Just, there's some things that happens over here just to see, are we doing what we need to do,
Right.
which I think was a plus to the police department. But to hear you say that after a vote of no confidence happened with the city council, that there seems to be a lack of communication, that's troubling to me.
Yeah, it's deeply troubling, especially with what's going on still in the city. The fact is, we got to put aside our differences.
Yes.
We really have to build a better city, a safer city for everyone. And that's not just a talking point. We are losing way too many lives.
Absolutely.
Whether, people are permanently injured for the rest of their life, or they lose their lives. Either one, it's still happening at too high of a rate right now in the city of Wilmington. And I think, to be playing, I call it political chess, it is unacceptable right now.
What do you think the legal ramifications are? Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make, not excuses, but make a way, give some room for why the police is not responding, according to your reporting. What do you think are some of the legal ramifications of responding and saying to the community, listen, this is what occurred, this is where we are, this is what we are hoping for? Now, a suspect, because one of the things I kind of get fuzzy in my head is, you can have a suspect, and it doesn't mean the suspect is guilty, it just means we're working on an investigation. Is there a person arrested? Is there a person suspect? I'm confused.
It's having a relationship with the community, and the police department doesn't have that. And when people speak out against the fact that they don't have that relationship, they get upset and blame the community for not having that relationship, completely ignoring the fact of the wrongdoing that they have done and the harm that they have caused to the community, which has broken that trust, right? And that's over years and years of incidents happening that may not be the officer who's stationed there right now. It may have nothing to do with them, but a community still sees you as that individual that broke that trust. When you look at it, right, going back to the Williams administration, they saw low gun violence, they saw high gun violence. When they saw high gun violence, guess what they did? They changed their strategy. They didn't say, okay, this is what we put in here, and we're going to keep pushing forward until it works. No, they said, look, we see that, okay, not everything we thought was going to work is going to work. Let's change some things up. Let's change how Operation Disrupt works and things like that. You cannot be so dead set on being right that it costs other people their lives. And that's what is happening with this Pazicki administration, Chief Tracy, and the individuals who are empowering him to stay the course of what he's doing, which has not been working. Because since 2017, we have only had 1 year that hasn't been higher than 2015.
Yeah, well, 25th, wow. One of the things I think I want to do as we do our investigative reporting constantly is that I do want to talk with the chief about why we can't get more information. And if the chief is providing us with more information, I want that to be shared so that we can, because sometimes, when you're on stations like us and others, people get information and they go off of what they know.
Right.
But when there is no information, then they have to go off of what they suspect.
Right.
And I think what's happening right now is that we need more information. This is really troubling. I really, when I came on the show today, I was coming to thinking that we really had no real issues. I knew that there was a shooting over there. I didn't know the young man had died. Yeah. Our prayers and sympathy goes out to the family. But I just wish that we can get more information so that we can constantly help. Is there a suspect? And how can, as soon as someone did something to us over here at East Zion, I put the pictures out there. I let everybody see. Be transparent. And what happened was the community responded. And we got in both cases, the person is incarcerated for the 2 crimes that were committed over here. So I think the more information that we put out to the community, the more the community feels a part of, and the more the community will help you to solve it. Because listen, the community loves its own people. And when someone comes in and deface us or do us wrong, we want them handled.
Right.
Because it's you today, but could be me tomorrow. And that's the attitude. So I think it's important that we do get more information, and we're going to have to follow up on that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, I think at the end of the day, we just have to do better overall as a people here in the city of Wilmington, hold one another accountable,
Yes.
and that means holding the administration accountable as well.
Well, one of the things, and God bless my mom who has gone home to be with the Lord now, but one of the things she used to always say to us is that because I'm your mother, I'm going to make sure that I hold you to a level of accountability if nobody else does. So I hear your argument with the leadership of the city has to be able to put some kind of barriers in there to say, this is how the standard we're going to have. But I don't want to blame the people in the community for all this violence and everything else if there's no true structure.
Correct.
That's really where I am.
I agree.
Yeah. And again, we're praying for the family, and we're going to certainly hold them high in prayer. I also want to talk about today in our, I guess you call it state news, if you want to call it that, but something, it's local, I guess, but Trippy endorsed Darby.
Yes.
And it's funny because I don't see that often. I don't even get involved in it. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so it seems as though the people who are over, that represent parts of the 1st District have made their voices known very loud that they are supporting Shanae Darby over Nnamdi Chukwuka. Now, a part of those people who have endorsed her is not only the council president, Trippy Congo, but Councilwoman Linda Gray, County Councilman Penrose Hollins, and then numerous organizations, including the Building Trades, which is a labor organization, Local 199, which is based here. That's our builders here, laborers here. You also have organizations that are national, such as Vote Mama, which supports women who have children running for office. You have a lot of groups that are now rallying behind her and mobilizing behind her. So it's showing that just how far disconnected the current state rep has been from those groups. And a lot of those people in groups originally endorsed him when he first ran.
Oh, wow.
But he has let the power go to his head and kind of gone back on what he promised he was going to do for the community.
It's interesting, and for those of you who watch us, I know that whether you're supporting Mr. Nnamdi or you're supporting Ms. Darby, I don't want it to be where we are anti either of the two. I want to make sure that we get the information. I know many of you may say, well, Kobe supports her, so you letting him get some punches in. No, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I bring the news forward and we share what is happening. And if I feel Kobe is being overzealous, I will make it known. But I did hear, Brother Kobe, that there was a debate that happened on, I think it was Wednesday of this week. And it was something interesting. But how did the debate go overall?
Yeah, so I think the debate went great. They both got an opportunity to present where they stand on issues. Dr. Griffith was the moderator. She's an amazing moderator.
She is.
And again, this was between the two primary opponents. The Republican opponent could not make it. It was a nonpartisan debate, but he could not make it. He actually is preparing to get married. So those two debated each other. And a part I really want to pull out at the end, and it goes back to a town hall about eminent domain, is the representative said that he did not say vote me out during that town hall debate back at the middle of June. There's video that shows it. You can hear his voice, you see him. It's a small lag, but you see him standing up with the mic saying it to people when he got frustrated, and he blamed it on Councilwoman Linda Gray. But throughout the debate, and you can watch it on the Metropolitan Wilmington Urban League's YouTube, it was in partnership with the Pan Atlantic Council Newcastle chapter. You can see the compare and contrast between the two. Overall, I think both of them did a good job of presenting their issues, presenting where they stand, and presenting their thoughts behind certain issues.
You know, what troubles me often, because I did get an opportunity to see the last part, the closing statements, because I wanted to hear what they were saying as they closed out, and it did grab my attention when he said because he wasn't supposed to get any more time.
Correct.
And he decided that because she threw out there, in his words, a lie, he wanted to clear it up. And what she said is that he said, if you don't like what I'm doing, then vote me out. And and he said, after he broke the rules and said, no, I didn't say that. Because often you are accused of showing favoritism, I wanted to show the clip, because that's going to be important. So I want you to just take a moment, especially for my seniors who are watching us, who may not get on YouTube and things like that. Just look at the closing statements of both, because I think that's important without us being biased. The closing statement of Nnamdi as well as of Ms. Darby. And then I will also show the clip of whether or not he said to vote him out. I'm going to do both, because I think it's important, because the other is accusing the other one of lying. And we have to always try to present the truth. Look at this.
We are almost at the end, and I want to give you the opportunity to provide your closing statements. I want to ask you to stick to 60 seconds each to provide your closing statement so that we have enough time for both. And I will go back to you, State Representative, so that we can hear from you first.
Thank you. I thank you for being here this evening. And I would say in my closing statement, I think this is really about truly a history of service. There's a clear distinction between my level of service, my level of service in the community as a community-based social worker, licensed for 30 years, leading nonprofits, leading school-based organizations, my work leading civic associations, leading our neighborhood planning councils, my proven leadership on city council as president pro tem, and my proven commitment inside of our state chambers to truly make a difference. Having a voice, someone that has the passion and conviction to make a difference. There's one thing about people say I'm an advocate and we pump our angry fists into the empty air, but truly understanding legislation and truly breaking down systems, that's my life. of everyday organizational and community change. That's my life as a social worker, and that's my life as an elected official, and I look forward to gaining your support on September the 13th.
Thank you so much. City Councilwoman, we're ready?
Yes. So I did not expect to be before you guys today as a candidate for the State House, but after I came home from the military training this past June, I was receiving all sorts of calls about people frustrated, right? They wanted a leader. They wanted someone who was going to put people before politics and Wilmington before special interests. And they felt like the current representative was failing to prioritize the needs of the community, looking at things like police reform and housing rights. And if there's one thing I learned throughout my life is that you can never choose when you'll be called to serve, but you can choose how you answer that call to service. And I know we face a lot of big challenges in Wilmington, but the idea of having to solve those big challenges doesn't dismay me. It actually gets me up in the morning, and I get up around 4 a.m. But in the State House, I would bring the leadership I brought to City Council on some of the most pressing issues. And I want to close out on this. So our current state representative looked at a room full of his own constituents who were against his bill and told them to run against him if they did not support it. Well, here I am, and I'm an unbossed champion for the community. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. We don't have time
I mean,
for...
I just want to state that was a lie. I never made that statement, never. She wasn't in the room. I was in the room. I know what I said. It was actually a council person who said, Linda Gray stood up and said, if you don't like what the councilman's doing, you run against him. I didn't make this statement. Just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, State Rep. Thank you. I appreciate that. I want to thank everyone for their participation today. I think the courageousness of the candidates has been outstanding. Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Doris Griffin, and I want to thank you for joining us for this opportunity.
There you have both statements, and I agree with you, Kobe. They did a very good job in presenting their issue. Just in their closing statements were very good. But he did break in, and he did say, no, that's a lie. She's lying. This is what he said on the day of this eminent domain discussion with the community. These are his words. Take a look.
I heard this was your bill. Am I right, Nominee? Is it or no? Yes or no? Is this your bill? Okay, my question again is from listening to all the conversations from politicians. They said this is your bill. Am I right? Correct. My question to you, and after you answer this, we can go home. Are you going to recommend tomorrow that this bill be tabled? That's all we want to know. And once you answer it, we can go home. Then we know whether to vote you back in next year or not. I'm being honest. If you can't work for me, I can't work for you.
If you want to vote me out on this bill, feel free.
No, I'm just saying that. But that makes a difference. We voted you in to fight for us.
And I'm fighting for myself. Excuse me. There is a process. I'm going to, as I said, we go.
Oh, hold on, young lady. Let me say this. Let me say this. Listen, you guys. Hold on for a minute, please. It's got to be all the sponsors. That's why we asked you to call the rest of the sponsors. NAMI is in this, but you got Stephanie Bolden, you got other people you need to call. So he's got to get the whole group to pull the bill.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. We was only here till 6:30. If you want to have a meeting, call a meeting, I come. This is Councilman Oliver's meeting, and I appreciate it. I just want to have a town hall meeting. Thank you, Linda Gray, the first councilwoman district, but we have got...
There you have it. You get to choose whether or not he said, vote me out if you don't like my decision. Now, I can't say you're being over partisan or whatever else. It's there in color, and it's on whose site was that?
DETV.
DETV is right there on their site, and if you need to review all of it, you certainly can. I just didn't want to use all of our time in discussing it. Let's go to something even more crazy on a national level, you know. Trump and his chaos. That's what I've decided to label that, because this man, I would lose my mind if I had. I guess he got so much money he can have all lawyers taking care of all this, and they are getting rich off of him. But let's start with Cheney. I want to talk about the Georgia situation, and I want to talk about January 6th. And this 5 or 6 minutes we have left in this time of the show, Trump his imprint is there.
Yeah. So, you said he has a bunch of attorneys, right? And that is very true. But it seems as though those attorneys now working for the former President Donald Trump, by working for him, you're risking your law license pretty much.
I see.
Because not only are you going to court to defend him, you are now going to court to defend yourself. And, that is what's happening down in Georgia right now with what happened with the election fraud claim that they made. Rudy Giuliani was the head attorney of it through the campaign. As those documents, those audio, those text messages from the January 6th commission has come out and shown that they were strategically trying to overturn the election, especially targeting Georgia. The Georgia DAs are now taking these people to court and holding them accountable. Do I think President Trump's going to be held accountable? Absolutely not. Absolutely.
What was my
not.
prediction? I said yes, right?
You said yes.
Okay. I want to make
think
sure
he's going to
y'all
still be
pay
chilling
attention.
in one of these penthouses or at Mar-a-Lago, one of those places.
Let me tell you why I got to my yes, and then we're going to talk about all of his chaos. But Trump never had to deal with a sister.
Yeah.
See, that's what you and those of you who do a lot of this analyzing of what's going on, Trump know how to get through the system, but he's now facing, in Georgia, a sister who's going to stay on it until she put cuffs on him. Now, you're saying, no, she could care less about a civil war. She could care less about, because that's what a lot of other folks are worried about. I believe she's going to, out of all the stuff he wiggled his way out of, Georgia, he will not.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see.
No, we gonna see. He will have to pay for this. And then with the Georgia situation, if we got another minute or so, with the Georgia situation, it is very clear. When they said Rudy Giuliani is a target, how can he be a target without Trump being one? That's why I know Trump is going to have to be indicted for this, and will be found guilty.
We'll see. We'll see. I don't know if I'm ready to say that yet. I think he's still going to figure out a way out of all this, and some of his key people who should be in jail as well too will get their selves out of it. But it's always the lower people in the totem pole that end up going to jail for these type of people.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen. And then what about the search on his home?
Yeah, so that's a whole nother. That's federal. But that's a whole nother ballpark. That's violating the Espionage Act by taking classified documents and taking them home. It's funny because, as I said last week, Trump made the law a felony that carries 10 years in prison because he was so upset about Hillary Clinton. Even though he beat her, he was so upset about those emails on a private server. He made taking classified information a bigger charge, and now he's the first to fall victim of it. Hopefully.
Wow, and because I guess the law applies to everyone but him. So he can do what he does. I don't know why you all really believe he's going to get out of this, because he's gotten out of so much others. But even with this act, I think Merrick Garland, even though he's a very reserved and very meticulous person, I think, in all the things I've read on him, I think he's really setting the case appropriately, and he's going to. But how do you not believe he's going to be convicted if all of this stuff is there?
He's a rich man who's a former president who still has a lot of power, and people are going to get scared of the political ramifications of.
But there's no Senate vote on this.
It's not.
There's no Senate vote. And if the Democrats keep the House, keep the White House, there will be no Republican. Now I know if his boy DeSantis win and beat, go and run for president and win, sure he'll get off, he'll get a pardon, and everything will be fine. But if Biden stays there or a Democrat stays there, I don't see how he gets out of this. I just can't. You being from an earlier generation kind of miss Street because Street would tell me what he thought from the older generation. I just don't see how he gets out of this. All of these different things, but you still feel he will.
Yeah, I do.
You ain't letting
I
go of
do.
that. Now let's jump to Cheney. Now, Cheney, I don't know why I had a little indicator that I thought she was going to pull it off because the Democrats turned, because somebody else I know had Republicans to support them and they end up winning an election. So I thought maybe that could work. How do you? What do you think she's going to do? What are you thinking?
So, I don't think the Tuesday's election results was a shock to anyone. What was a shock to me was how big the margin was. I will say I did hold some. I knew she was going to lose. I did hold some hope out that she would have got more support. She ended up losing by 37.4%, which is the second worst defeat of an incumbent in the last 60 years.
Yeah.
So, her opponent, who was endorsed by Trump, got 113,000 votes, which was 63.3% of the vote. Liz Cheney, the incumbent, who has taken on Trump these last, 7 months, only got 49,316 votes.
I wonder how many Democrats are in this state. Because what I was thinking that maybe she needs to join forces with a Democrat and tell her 49,000 folks to join with whatever. Can it outdo the Republicans to make sure she don't get in there?
I don't think the Democrats have enough Democrats in that state if all of them voted to overturn who just turned out in the primary, which is unfortunate. But also, just looking back at it, in 2020, Liz Cheney decided to stay in the House instead of running for the open U.S. Senate seat. If she would have did that, she would have had 4 more years, which, now this is most likely the end of her political career. It also, end of her political career holding office. But I think in her remarks, she had some key takeaways. She warned the Republican Party about Trump. She said she talked about how much she won by when she was first elected and how much she was reelected by in 2020, and that she could have easily been reelected again if she would have just said the election was stolen and what happened on January 6th was not true. And she said at a certain point you have to have your own character to look back on where you stand on issues like this. And I think it was a very, very powerful message, not only to Donald Trump, who was, of course, celebrating the victory, but also to the rest of the party that left her behind. You saw them remove her from leadership, and they have isolated her completely. So I think why she did lose. She has definitely started to lay the groundwork for a 2024 run if Trump runs. Whether it's going to be in the Republican primary or as an independent, I don't know. But she seems ready to fight President Trump, continue to fight President Trump on his lies on this.
Yeah, I think Trump he dealt mostly with men because he's very sexist.
Yes.
But he's never really seen the strength of women when they are determined for things to happen.
Yes.
And now he got a double whammy in Georgia because he got a woman and black woman. So it's going to be a double whammy for him there. That's why I still believe he's going to be found held accountable. But I really felt bad that he had such a hold. But some of his people are in trouble. That what's his name? Ron Paul, one of the guys who was running was in Wisconsin or something like that.
Ron Johnson.
Johnson. Yeah, I see that he's the Democratic opponent is doing well. Is one of the polls at least I saw.
Mandela Barnes. So that race has completely turned around. At one point, it was unsure if Mandela was going to win the primary. And then they were seeing the polling numbers. They were seeing who had the most money, and Ron Johnson was bringing in boatloads of money. And all the main Democratic opponents sat down and said, look, we're going to get behind our current lieutenant governor who's running, Mandela Barnes. He's the one polling highest out of all of us. We're going to put our money behind him. We're going to put our support behind him. And it has turned around. They are doing a strong ground game to unseat Ron Johnson. And Ron Johnson has been the main senator going after Hunter Biden and President Biden, and also uplifting this election was stolen lies.
Wow. So in one area we see that the Republicans have a strong hold, especially on the Congress, because they still believe that they're going to take over Congress.
Correct.
But they don't believe that now. They're starting to believe that the Senate can be still held by the Democrats. I just wish we could find a way to keep both of them, because what the last week we just had has been strong. I'm sure in the Colby's Corner you're going to talk about some of the things that has occurred. But I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that, because that may be the rude awakening that the Republicans will need in order to not let the base of their party take the whole, status and style of their party. Because I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned because our democracy is at risk, and people don't really pay attention, especially for those of us who live in states like Delaware, where it's Democratic or have a Democrat leadership. But if they really take control, Senate, White House, and the Congress, we will be in some serious trouble.
Yeah.
Laws will be passed it'll be years to even try to undo them. So I think people really need to pay attention to that and talk to relatives who live other places. Get out, vote. You must vote in order to stop some of this. But that's going to Wisconsin is going to be a very good test to see whether or not we have the strength to do it. Well, we had an opportunity to talk about Trump and his craziness. We had an opportunity to talk about Trippy endorsing. I thought that was just interesting that he endorsed Darby. And I know that there are other people who I see some flyers out where people are in the background of Mr. Nnamdi's his campaign. So I don't know really that much about his campaign, and I don't want to give too much credence to it.
Again, all this is public information. You can see who is supporting someone by looking at their campaign finance reports.
Okay.
So I encourage everyone to go to the Delaware Department of Elections.
Say it again.
Delaware Department of Elections. Scroll down to the bottom. It's going to say campaign finance reports. Click there. Click review reports, and click 30-day report for September 13th, and all the reports will come up. Feel free to look at any ones who you want. It's all the ones who are running in a primary this year. So look at their campaign finance and see who's supporting who.
All right. Well, it seems like this is becoming the hot topic of the city, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hearing people talk about a state representative election that I've never seen this kind of excitement going on. So I'm kind of excited that it's excited. It's bringing some drama to our show as well as to the city, and I'm very grateful for that. Again, we thank so much for everybody who continue to watch us. We're now going to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back. Hey, Zion Fair, this is Pastor Curry. Annually, before COVID hit us, we were doing our concerts as well as our end of the year cookout as a church family. This year, we have a special guest, one who is very near and dear to my heart. I mentored him as a student at Lincoln University. He was my first minister of music at Lincoln, and I'm excited that he has accepted to come, Brother Dion Kippen. What a great man of God, done so many wonderful things nationally and internationally. He will be our artist. I got a reason to look forward to live my I got a reason to rejoice. Yes, Brother Dion Kippen will be our artist for our End of the Summer concert. Once we get finished with the concert, we're all going to go over across the street to the park, and we're going to eat until we want no more. Everything is free. I'm asking all of you to recognize we only having one service on August the 28th. We're only having one service, and that service will be at 11:30. As a church family, both congregations, we're asking you come together and let's enjoy the Lord together as our praise team, our choir, and Brother Dion Kippen bless us with our end of the year concert that we've always done. I'm excited about it. I hope you'll tell someone. Let's join together and let's enjoy the Lord together on August the 28th. One service, 11:30. I hope to see you in church. We're back. I tell them every week, and they get used to me saying it now. My favorite part of the show, because I can sit back and allow the millennials to do their thing and share what they share. But the Kobe's Corner has really gotten the attention of many people, and they are very grateful, Kobe, that you certainly are in the fight. You're in the fight, and I hope and trust that you will land in a place beyond. Currently, you are employed, but land in a place where you can really dedicate a lot of your time to the struggle and the fight that you constantly do. Kobe Corner is always a reflection of what's happening in our city, state, and country, and I think that's just honorable. So I want to just say thank you for what you do and how you bring the substance to our show.
Thank you.
Even though you're a little biased sometimes on people that you certainly support, and I'm trying to find me a conservative to be a part of our show so we can get some fights going on here. But overall, I really want to thank you. So what's going on with Kobe's Corner?
Yeah, so one, I want to start on a federal level,
Okay.
right? We talked about it. The Inflation Reduction Act passed the Senate, passed the House, and President Biden has now signed it.
Okay.
They will be doing a White House celebration on September the 6th, which I'm excited to go down to and be a part of that. We worked very hard on building community support around this. And I just want to say that the Inflation Reduction Act, right, is one of the most significant pieces of legislation in U.S. history when it comes to tackling climate change,
Which is one of your big issues.
which is a huge issue, especially for this generation.
Yes.
And then also strengthening our energy security here in America. But also a part of it is lowering the overall costs on our households right now.
Okay.
And also our businesses, not just our households, but our businesses as well too, and create more jobs that are homegrown jobs, right? So what do I mean by that? More manufacturing jobs. America used to be number one in manufacturing. We have dropped off recently. We've seen what's happened in the Rust Belt, but not just having jobs in the Midwest, but having jobs right here in Delaware. Looking at this bill and how it breaks down for Delaware, I broke the notes down. So I'm going to read off my laptop real quick. But the IRA will make more affordable lower energy costs for Delaware families to purchase energy efficient appliances.
Currently, people who already have homes.
Already have homes,
Okay, go ahead.
yes. So there will be rebates offering up to 50 to 100% of the cost of installation of new electronic appliances, super efficient heat pumps, water heaters, dryers, washers, stoves, ovens. Hundreds of thousands of low-income and moderate-income households will be eligible for these rebates, right? They also will offer rebates to make repairs and improvement to single-family and multifamily homes that are increasing energy efficiency.
Okay.
Tax credits covering 30% of the cost of installation of solar panels and battery storage. So you can have solar, but it's the battery storage that you really need, so that if it is a cloudy day or a long winter, you can still power your house. That is efficient for the uptick in projects here in Delaware. Tax credits also covering community solar projects by local businesses. I was just reading up about this new company that has, it's almost like a sunflower solar panel that changes throughout the day to capture the most sun, that can power whole office buildings. So getting those into the city of Wilmington. And grants to help state and local governments adopt the latest building energy codes to make sure that homeowners are getting the best bang for their dollars when it comes to utilities. Good paying jobs.
Will they be for only college students?
What, good paying jobs?
The jobs that this will produce.
No, so this is job training for individuals who are already in
important.
energy jobs, right? So if you work on a power plant, Boilermaker and stuff like that, job training to transfer you over to working on a new plant. But $30 million is coming into Delaware to invest in clean power, energy, and storage here between now and 2030. More manufacturing jobs, bringing 24,000 more manufacturing jobs to Delaware. Small businesses. Delaware has 88,000 small businesses throughout the entire state. And that represents 98% of all businesses in the state. They will be able to get a tax credit up to $5 per square foot to support energy efficiency improvements. And then, of course, we've talked about it before, more electric vehicles, making sure that we have the grid to charge those vehicles, looking at rural opportunities, how to really address our farmers, and making sure that we're helping them be able to stay up to date with climate smart agricultural practices. And you know, the last part of this that I really want to highlight is the resilient communities. The affordable housing includes projects that will boost resiliency in the face of intensified extreme weather. We've seen what happened in Ida. We've seen what keeps happening with the weather. Making sure people who are in low-income housing has access to the equity grant program, which includes transportation projects and planning against floods and hurricanes and extreme storms like that. So overall, this bill has a lot in it, and it's going to be very beneficial for the state of Delaware.
Well, this sounds like it's going to help us in a small state and the large states too. But I'm looking forward to this, and I wanted to ask that question about whether or not it'll be for those who are who don't have a college degree or
Right.
in college, because a lot of our population are non-college degree
Right.
recipients.
And we wanted, you know, when those discussions came up, people wanted to make sure that this applied to everyone across the board, right? So yes, you're going to need engineers, but you're going to need people who can learn the job on the job, right? It's not everyone needs to be an engineer with a master's degree, right? So making sure that it's allowing all people to get involved with this.
Okay, good. And then I'm told that there's some monkeypox going on.
Yeah, so Delaware has more cases. We're now up to 11 cases of monkeypox here in the first state.
How many?
11.
Oh, wow.
So we went from 3 to 11 over the last week, which also means more Delawareans are now eligible for the monkeypox vaccine. Now, we only received 400 doses initially, and you know, the White House, as they're trying to produce more, they're asking states to try to stretch that for as long as possible to give them more time to produce more. But this is the FDA has issued an emergency use authorization for one of the federally approved vaccines to prevent monkeypox. So they are working very fast to try to get this to the level that needs so that this does not become another pandemic. But again, the numbers are rising here in Delaware. And Philadelphia, which is right up the road from us, has one of the highest rates outside of Los Angeles in New York City.
Now, it's skin-to-skin disease. Just for my seniors, I'm always trying to make sure that they are following us when we're talking. When you're speaking of monkeypox, what kind of information do you have? Just general. I know that you're not Sanjay Gupta, but just what type of general information so they can be aware and not get afraid, but be aware of this is what it does, this is what it is, you know.
Yeah. So again, it's a skin-to-skin contact. And, you know, the CDC is still trying to figure it out exactly how this variation is playing out. But what we'll do is put it up on a screen, the different ways that you can contract it. So that people can see it for themselves. It's a lot of different ways, and it's hard to kind of break down. But the biggest population that they are saying needs to be careful with this is gay men. They are saying that those exposed to monkeypox has a 14-day window of maybe not knowing that they've been exposed
wow.
or seeing any results. Whereas COVID, it was more of you had a 2 to like 4-day window before you would show symptoms. 2 weeks is a long time, and you come in contact with a lot of people.
Can people die from this?
People can, but I don't think anyone has yet.
Okay.
Again, it depends. I think they're still trying to figure out who is the highest risk. Of course, they're saying people who are living with HIV already is the highest risk. So they would see an increased risk of health issues.
Yeah, I just hope that people will be careful, be very careful, whether it be for the gay men or whoever. Everybody need to be careful. It's a skin-to-skin contact, and we don't have all the facts.
Right.
And not having all the facts, that means everybody need to be safe. Matter of fact, everybody need to do what the Bible says. Unless you're married, you should not be indulging. I'll do it that way if you don't mind, and that way we ain't gotta say about no particular group. You should just wait until the Lord give you that husband or that wife or that part, whatever, and you get married. But that's just the preacher in me.
Yeah, no, I again, it's trying to be as safe as possible as we still go through, 3 pandemics almost right now.
Yeah.
Polio is back. Monkeypox is back, and we're still dealing with COVID-19. So everyone, please be as safe as possible out there. But next, I wanted to talk about someone who I've worked with in the past,
Okay.
who is leading the way to defend the black vote, especially after what happened in 2020. And what we're already seeing with voter suppression in 2022. And that's former NAACP National President Ben Jealous, who started the People for the American Way advocacy organization that really wanted to focus in on black men who are less likely to cast a vote in the election than black women. And his whole thing is we should be voting on the same rate as black women, but also making sure that all black people's rights are defended, right?
Okay.
Make sure the laws that are being passed in Texas and Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia and South Carolina and Florida, fighting back against them on the legal side of things, but then also mobilizing to make sure we're getting our stuff in the right order and preparing people to be able to get their rights back if they were purged from the voter rolls or something like that. So Ben is doing amazing work. He's continuing the work he did at the NAACP, and kind of from his work, the DNC is listening to him. They're creating black voter summits to listen to black voters that are going to be in 4 different regions throughout the United States. It'll be in Philadelphia on October 21st and 22nd. But people are not only trying to listen to black voters, but also making sure they deliver for them. And that's how the Inflation Reduction Act is going to be huge for the black community. And there has been a lot of legislation passed recently that's going to be huge, but we still are missing the Voting Rights Act being passed, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act being passed, as well as the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act being passed.
Okay. Well, I hope that, well, I shouldn't say hope, because he's a very strong and effective leader as it relates to securing and maintaining the voter rights for minorities. So I'm very confident that he will continue to go forward. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
He will continue to go forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then bringing it back local.
You went around the world, just so you know.
Yeah, right. Bringing it back local. One of the best golfers ever, especially in my generation, Tiger Woods, was in Delaware earlier this week. This week was the 2022 BMW Championship under the PGA Tour, taking place at the Wilmington Country Club. And we all different types of golfers been throughout the city of Wilmington, staying at the Hotel DuPont. But Tiger did not play in the championship. He was here to have a discussion with the PGA members, the golfers here, about staying with the PGA Tour and not deflecting and going to, it's called the Live Golf Invitation Series, which is competition to PGA, which is a Saudi Arabia backed circuit that has been poaching some of the big names from the PGA Tour. So Tiger was here to try to talk to them into staying with the PGA Tour to make sure that that stays one of the top series in the world, actually.
Yeah. Do you think he's being effective with that?
I think he is. This, regardless of what other people say, I think this spurred from the number 2 player in the world, Cam Smith. There's a rumor swirling that he's going to make the jump over to the Live Golf Invitational from the PGA Tour, which would be a huge hit for them. So I think having Tiger come in, they wanted to make sure that they can lock him in to stay with the tour. Nearly all of the top 20 players in the world are with the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I think it'll survive. You had one more item.
Yes. City Council returned on Thursday. Now, they had nothing to do legislatively, but they do have a meeting this upcoming Thursday, the 25th, as well. And that
Is that Zoom or are they back in?
No,
person?
they are back in session. They are
I must
supposed to
show
be
up.
fully back now. And I believe it also stands for committee meetings, too. The first committee meeting won't be until September, though.
Okay.
And that, I believe, is the Finance Committee meeting. So everyone is supposed to be back in. They are the last government body in the entire state to come back in person.
Yeah.
Everyone else has been back in.
Wow. Okay. Well, I hope you all will pay attention and go to the city council meeting. We got to look at the agenda, how they do things, because they're shutting people up so much until they probably don't even allow the community to have anything to say.
Right.
So I think that's great. Thanks so much for the Kobe Corner today, and it gave us a lot of information, and I'm hoping that you will have absorbed it. We'll be right back. And we're back. Well, it has been a very good show, but before we leave, Kobe, I do want to ask a question that I meant to ask you before we went to the last break. How do you feel about, the Georgia governor's race?
Yeah, so that's definitely one of the closest races we're seeing out there. It's constantly ranked at the second closest. So Stacey is only down by 6 points, which is a huge gap that she has gained since she first entered the race. So, we have maybe a few more months. I think she'll be able to close that gap.
Okay.
And adding on the way Reverend Warnock's campaign is going.
Yeah.
If you have people who vote for Reverend Warnock and vote for her, I think both of them will be able to get over the hump.
And I'm hoping for the first time, I'm hoping that Trump effect help us.
Yes.
Because he did not want to support that election, and I know his people may turn on him. I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. But this is one time when I hope that the Trump factor play in our favor.
Yeah, I mean, he is going hard for Herschel Walker, who time after time keeps putting out statements that just, I don't know how someone could sit there and be like, I want to vote for this guy. But we are starting to see, Warnock is starting to make a gap on his own, and hopefully he helps lift Stacey Abrams over that hump to be an incumbent governor. But across the board, it's going to be very interesting. Going all the way back to Liz Cheney, Trump is only 50% in these primary races that he's back. So while he did get some good wins, overall he has not done as good as he used to do.
Yeah, so there's some effect. Well, I just wanted to ask that, and every so often during the, I guess you call it the quiet storm, I wanted to ask certain questions to make sure, because I'm following that very closely as well. I just also want to say thanks to all of you who continue to watch us, and for those of you who have been praying for my mother, who I shared with you, she was in 2017, she was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. And the doctor gave us 6 weeks, and I went to the Lord, and many of the saints went to the Lord saying, look, I'm not ready. It was hard. I never lost anyone to this magnitude. And the Lord heard our prayers, and he gave us 5 additional years. Here recently, something happened where I think my mother probably contacted COVID as well, and it turned for the worse, and we were praying. But our prayers changed a little bit. My prayer was, Lord, your will be done, but we don't want any pain and suffering. That's what we prayed. My mother lived a very productive, healthy, strong life for 82 years. And I didn't want to see her leave, but I didn't want to be selfish. I just didn't want her to suffer. So my prayer changed from 5 years ago when I said, Lord, I'm not ready, to Lord, your will be done. Well, the Lord once again honored our prayer request, and his will was for her to move from her labor to her reward. Just this week on Tuesday, the Lord called my mom home, and yes, I serve as the pastor, the strong one, but it has really taken a piece of me. But I thank you. I thank all of you who've been praying. Zion Fair Church family is just the greatest. Wilmington community, you're just the greatest. We appreciate all that you have done. My mom has gone home to be with the Lord. We're going to share with you the services that will occur for those of you who are in desire to know them. It's going to be right on your screen in a few seconds, if not now already. But I want you to see, and if you can, just do me one favor. The thing that I really need the most, instead of calling me and emailing me, just pray the comfort of God. Because in my quiet moments is when I'm hurting. But my mom have been the best. Thank you for the time that we shared. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
Until the next time, God bless.